just think. I think, well, we're going to find out now. Oh, look, and Nicola's joining us as well. That's Nicola. I've just gone live. Ian's in his car on the long and wide road, and I've just gone live because we were just talking about, or starting to talk about the Autel Evo. I think the 2. So, what do you think about that, Ian? What do you think that might be?
Yeah. Well, they've. I don't know how well this is going to work, but we'll go for it. They've released. Well, they haven't released anything. It's leaked on the FCC filings today. Quite a lot of information is leaked unusually. They don't seem to have held anything back. Appears to be an upgraded version with exchangeable cameras. One up to 8K resolution model, and then one up to 6K, which is a 1-inch sensor. And then they've also announced a dual sensor model as well with a thermal camera too. So it looks like they've given the whole aircraft a bit of an overhaul, really.
Oh, they've got to, really, haven't they? And have I seen a few little murmurings about DJI with some sort of follow me thing, or is that just a guest star? Or is that DJI? Hello, we've gone live here because just because Ian's on the road and it's amusing talking to him in the dark.
Yeah, I lost you for a second then. It's interesting to see. You know, obviously there's been no official announcement on this. They've put some headline figures in there, which is 8K video. Now, when you actually break that down, it isn't actually anything special. The reality is it's still only 16 and a bit megapixel. So even on a 20 megapixel sensor, 8K video is doable. You know, there's certainly nothing magical here. No one else seems to have done it before. But it's interesting that they have put this 8K headline figure up there. But they haven't said what size sensor that is with the 8K. They've only said the 6K is on the 1-inch sensor on that.
Yeah, but there seems to be a name that's receding into the distance, isn't it? All-powerful DJI and all that sort of a thing.
I think their problem is this. You know, look, if we look at the noise that's been around non-US manufactured drones, okay?
Yes.
There's been a lot of talk, you know, we're not going to allow Chinese drones in the US, the military, etc., etc. Now, DJI have been the ones that have stood up and pushed back and said, look, you know, we don't agree with this. We're going to do this. I don't know what they're going to do because talk about any of this stuff. They don't publicize it. So I'm guessing they're simply only after the consumer market because they're certainly not going to be driving into the growing industrial market, which is the small craft. Because the reality is every small, very capable craft to get involved in search and rescue and small industrial applications. You know, even Skydio are at it, and we've seen them with their base station as well.
Yeah, that was in Finland today. I think it had some of its first European flights, but they should be landing. They should be landing in people's inboxes soon, I suppose. Those people that managed to order one and get some of the first series, it's soon, isn't it?
Yes, I've seen some people have their final order requests come through, but I've not seen it in anyone's hands. They released quite a cool video of them flying around their office. I don't know if anyone else seen that, and that was, you know, it was as messy and all over the place as my own workshop, which brought a smile to my face.
Messy. Well, we'll let you stay. So if you can stay with us, stay with us. But obviously, don't crash as you drive towards Newport.
I will.
Or points east.
I'm going to mute this and see if it works.
All right. Well, we'll see how we go. And you know, if you want to care to drop in some elements of surprise or something, and that'll be great. You know, don't unmute it if you have a crash, because we want all the details. Anyway, guest star Bruce, guest star, and Nicola. Nicola, I guess we had to ask a question. Nicola, have you found an aeroplane?
Well, this time though, I've got an answer for you.
Oh, okay. We're ready.
We did go up there and we found a deer.
Uh-oh.
But no sign of the plane.
So do you think the deer's eaten it? Is that what it is? Is that what you're saying?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, probably. I spent about probably over an hour flying with the Phantom left and right, trying to cover the whole area, possible locations where the wind might have blown it off to, where it could have slipped to, but there's not a sign.
Oh, it must be more. What's it? It's over a year now, isn't it?
No, maybe 9 months.
Is that all?
Eight,
Cool.
8 months.
We've been going on about it like it's over a year, haven't we?
Yeah.
Oh well, that's disappointing. I wanted to see
Well,
how that is
not
doing.
really. Chances of finding it were pretty slim. So who knows? Who knows what had happened? Probably it got stuck in the snow, and come spring somebody found it, because the top of that hill there, like just under the peak where I think it would have sort of touched down, is very close to some footpaths. So somebody might have found it and has been kind enough not to try and return it.
So don't you wish you'd registered it? Don't you wish there was registration? Because then you could have got it back through the registration number. The authorities would have contacted you and said, Nicola, your plane has been handed in. Please come and collect it and bring your wallet.
Well, trust me, even with that, I don't think anybody would have, whoever took it wouldn't have returned it.
Well, the police would have done, and they got your registration number, and they'd come straight to your door. Straight to your door. But it's interesting that Ian's dropped out. I don't know if he'll drop back in with his driving. But in the UK, apparently, funnily enough, that very expensive registration system has developed the ability to fall over frequently, and the operator part of it hasn't been working this week, apparently.
Did I not predict? Come Christmas morning and everyone rushes to register their new toys and it falls over, mayhem will ensue.
Well, I'm not entirely sure mayhem's ensued, but I think it's somewhat inconvenient for folks, and they're having to telephone the CAA directly and to get their £9 payments. And apparently the confirmation portion of it is sending the wrong timestamp, and then it's then suggesting that it's timed out or something like that. But you know, that's what you get if you spend £4.1 million on a system, £2.8 million a year to keep it running up to date. I'd love to know the number. I'd love to know the current bottom line number of people that have registered. I think it must be way below. Well,
that's the problem with the Raspberry Pi. If you don't have enough cooling on it, they do tend to overheat.
Well, that's right. Yeah, you'd have to get one of the newer ones, and then these Fords really do need not only a really good power supply, but a really good heat sink as well. So you're probably exactly right. Yes, I'm sure that's what it is.
I was reading the other day that in Canada they reckon there were 300,000 drones, but they have only had 30,000 registrations. So that's going well for them.
That's interesting. That's very interesting, especially as that's okay. It was 180,000, I think they said they wanted in the UK, wasn't it? So for argument's sake, we'll call that roughly double the UK number. Well, I've forgotten. We need to get our Canadian correspondent back. I've forgotten what the cost is in Canada, but it's a bit of quite a few hoops to jump through, wasn't it?
I'm not sure about, because you have to get a pilot's thing as well, don't you? You have to set a little test just to make sure that you know how to read and write and you can move your hands in a coordinated fashion.
Yes, and I see also in the UK, or back to the UK, that people are older people that are less tech savvy are leaving because they're objecting to have to go online and do everything. And there's already reports of numbers at model clubs beginning to take a hit, which is a very great shame.
Yeah, that's going to happen around the world. Old people can't keep up with the technology. Young people are too young to be an operator. So it's only going to be people in the middle left.
And the other thing that happened in the UK this week, which is, we have kind of predicted this on our little chats in the past, that we'll end up getting a load of regulations, and the thing that wants to get us regulated won't be happening. And that, in this instance, would be aloha there to Malik. Would be Uber. They've lost their license to operate in London, so that's not gonna help them with Uber Elevate. And part of the reasoning for losing their license is safety. And as we know, nobody needs safety in aviation. It's not a requirement. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a requirement at our airfield anyway, at least not for the manned aviation community.
I see that. I see you had another helicopter go over the back there quite low, and yes, I saw Ron appearing from the mist earlier this evening. I thought that was a very poetic bit of video. That, yes, it's I like what's that big Vietnam War movie, but in reverse because he's coming anyway. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, no. So what else? What have you seen this week, Bruce? It's I say slowing down. I really think that's where the industry's at.
Yeah, though I did see someone saying it's going to be worth $2 billion by 2020 or something. One of those, those people like make those reports and they sell to you for $1 million, and that's basically, although it was mainly military drone market's going to be worth $2 billion by the end of the decade. Wow, fantastic! But I saw in Australia, in where was it? New South Wales, was it? I think it was. No, Newcastle in Australia. There was a car race, and somebody had a drone at the car race. And there was going to be an military aerial display beforehand. And they obviously had the aeroscope going because they knew exactly where the guy was and where the drone was, but they didn't say whether they'd actually caught him or not. So aeroscope's looking quite like the tool du jour if you wanted to crack down on people using drones in the wrong places. But didn't work at Gatwick, did it?
I wasn't there at the time, and there's been
just recently when they had the drone.
The new ones, yes, yeah. That's not down that old rabbit hole again. Yeah, none of the systems work. So that there's supposed to be multiple systems there now, and plainly that's not happened. Yeah. What was the other thing I saw this week? I should have made notes. There was there was another aeroscopy type incident, and I can't remember what it was for the life of me now. But it's all died down, including the nonsense reports have kicked up. Did you see the one in the UK? I think we briefly mentioned it last week, where it could be proved that whatever the type wasn't in the country, and they still ran forward with that Airprox report and still stated it was that. Things like that. It's just been silly little nonsense, but generally I have a feeling it's going away, and I don't think there's going to be big Christmas sales of all this gear this year.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be massive sales of drones, certainly not in the UK with the registration and things standing in the way. But I've been having a lot of fun with sub 250 gram models. Been flying quite a few of them in the last week or two, and I'm having a ball. It's fantastic. I may never touch a large model again. You never know.
Well, yeah, if you get enjoyment out of the flying, I mean, it doesn't. Apparently, size doesn't matter. Apparently.
That's what my wife keeps telling me that, but she says it with a frown. I don't know what she's talking about.
Yeah, no, it's I'll try and remember the thing I was thinking of just now, but I'm going to ask Nicola. I see you released a video recently of your current favorite aircraft. Remind me of what that is again.
What? The
put
Crosswind Mini?
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
Or the XUAV Clouds?
Well, which one was it? Which is your favorite now?
Both are very good.
So which one would you be sending to somebody for Christmas, Nicola, if you had that option?
I like them both. I'd rather keep them.
This is not going to be drawn, is it, in any way? In any way.
Have you had a look at the Dart 250?
The what?
Have you looked at the Zod Dart 250?
Yeah, I've seen it, but I haven't gotten one, so not sure if I'm going to be playing with it, but looks all right. Yeah,
I got one. Reviews coming out later in the week. I can tell you they're quite tough, quite strong. Don't ask me how I know.
That's a nice change.
Well, it has to be, because the first 4 or 5 launches were straight into the ground, and only one remember. Because the craft, if you set it up as it comes, and you would expect that the elevons would be flush with the wing, where the wingtip is and the wing root is. You'd expect the elevons to be flush there with a slight reflex. But you actually need about a 4 or 5 mil reflex over and above that in the wing for them to fly. Otherwise, they just nosedive straight to the ground. I was just about to give up on the damn thing until I put a lot of reflex on, and now it flies beautifully.
Jesus.
So.
But then were you loading it up too much in the front? Or were you
No,
flying
I was flying it. It was still under 250 grams. It was all lightly loaded. Didn't even have FPV gear on it. And I tried it with 2 cells, and I thought, well, maybe it's something to do with the 2-cell setup. Went to 3 cells, still did it. And no, it was just that with the CG in the marked position, there's not enough reflex on the elevons. I even tried moving the battery back to move the CG back a bit, and then it became totally uncontrollable. But now it flies like a dream. It's brilliant, lovely. So yeah, they just need instructions. There wasn't anything in the instructions. Zod don't do instructions. They just do a sheet with the click, 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 and away you go. No mention of throws or default positions or anything like that. So I think Zod's documentation is very concise, but it's very bad.
So a lot of people are going to have that experience. That's going to be the experience for this aircraft.
Yeah, that's why I want to get this video out so people don't make the same mistake. But the documentation is actually quite poor. I got the co-pilot, and I thought, wow, great, a flight controller that doesn't need a computer. How much simpler could you make this thing? And honestly, if you follow the instructions, they're contradictory, and they tell you to press this button, it does one thing, but it does something else. And then they tell you about if the LED is blinking, it means this. If the LED is blinking, not blinking, it means that. But there are 3-4 LEDs. Which one are they talking about? It's like, oh no. So, but I got that going as well. So I'm going to do a sort of a how do you use these things, how do you set them up videos, so that other people don't have to wade through the same problems that I've obviously had to deal with. And once you get it sorted, it's pretty good actually.
And that's OSD with that flight controller, or is it just a flight controller?
That's the downside of having a really simple flight controller. You don't have an OSD. And the thing I don't like artificial horizons and all that sort of rubbish. The only thing I like on an OSD is the return to home arrow, the direction you got to turn to come back. And unfortunately, you don't even get that. All you get if you use their FPV camera is the battery voltage and the elapsed time since you started the flight. So it's true bareback, but because you got return to home, you can flick the switch and it'll come back anyway. But I like to fly them back. I don't want it flying itself back.
And you've got the what was I going to say? I don't know. Oh, dear me, I've not been drinking. I promise.
But the dementia's setting in again, is it? You're frozen on my screen. You're not even moving at the moment. Is that an oil paint?
That's how my day's been. I feel like that. It's coming up to the end of school. It's the end of the school week here, and it's school plays and leaving dues and all that sort of thing. And I've got to set up a presentation for the headmaster, and it's dreadful. But anyway, that's another thing. So I've got to get all that done. No, what I was thinking was it's just one size fits all. With this simple autopilot, then it comes loaded with a firmware for that aircraft, or can you change the firmwares for the aircraft?
No, it's all one size fits all. And the nice thing is you can adjust the tuning with a screwdriver. You don't have to go in and change PID values. Well, that's really good. But it doesn't really give you any clues as to what you should set as your default. And if you have too much, of course, it's going to be violently unstable. They just say that if you have too much, it'll be violently unstable. But a point to start would be a good thing, like maybe 10% or 20% or something. But they don't even give you the starting point. And does
that come up as a number, or is that just where the screwdriver's turned?
Yeah, just a percentage of the total turn, I suppose. The other thing that is interesting is that you've got no choice of setting your return to home height, and it's 35 meters, which might sound like a lot. But if you, for example, launch from a gully or a valley or something, 35 meters may not be enough, especially if you've flown up and behind some trees. You may just fly straight back into the trees. So there are trade-offs. It's a sacrificing ease and simplicity of setup for flexibility and so forth. But if you just want something that brings it back and you're flying in a flat area with nothing higher than 35 meters, it's going to do the job.
I suppose you'd advance that turny knob until the point where when you shake it, the control surfaces just keep going, then back it off from that, I guess. I don't know where I'd start.
Well, I've flown a lot of flight controls with auto stabilize, with stabilization, and so I just set it to where I thought it should be, and it flies great. But I mean, a lot of people might be tempted to wind it up to get more stabilization, and it's just going to go, going to have 2 oscillations, and it's going to be calm. The other thing I found that was really annoying is that when you're in the pass-through mode, you've got so much more control throw than when you're in the stabilize mode. If you go into the stabilizing mode, you get about, 1/5 of the control deflection. So initially I set it up so it flew really good in the pass-through mode, switched to stabilize mode, and with the stick held right over, it if it had done a
Yeah.
circuit, it would have been 3 miles across, because it turns down the control sensitivity too much. So what you have to do is either write some fancy stuff in your transmitter so that when you throw it into stabilized mode, it ramps the throws up, or live with something that's wildly touchy on manual mode but flyable on stable mode. You know, there's still, the compromises are not always the best ones that they've made. So, but I mean, it's a new product. Maybe they will review that. What I would like to see Zod do is send products out to testers in advance before they just drop them on the market. Do you get products to test, Nicola, or do they just drop your product once it's finished?
No, nothing beforehand.
Yeah, they need to do that, because like with that Nanotalon, I found the Boeing push rods and things, and everyone else had found that, but no other reviewers had mentioned it. And like with the Dart 250, they need more reflex on the elevons, and this Copilot, they need to provide some way, of having an adjustment for the amount of throw you get in the pass-through mode versus the stabilized mode. Little things like that. That if you're sitting behind an oscilloscope in a bench somewhere and you're doing it, you don't know, because I don't know if these people even fly models. One gets the feeling that perhaps they don't. Perhaps they just make them. So they should just flick them out, and get some feedback first. Do the beta test thing.
You've got to wonder how they've arrived with this method of tuning it. I had some of those Hobby King just basic stabilizer things a couple of years ago, and they were a bit of a mare. But I think that again was the method, wasn't it? It was shake the thing and then turn it back until all control surfaces stop shaking to bits. But I don't quite see the logic in not. I suppose I do. I see the logic in simple things, but you need just a few more things to it, as you say, especially the RTL. That could prove very embarrassing. And then I guess there's no telemetry or anything like that either.
No, you've got, like, I'm using telemetry with radio gear, but which is another interesting thing. I am very. You might have saw my video about the free sky issues with free sky.
I thought you might be mentioning that. Yes, or free sky. Yeah.
Well, I flew this particular model with my QX7 transmitter, and I got X amount of range. I used the jumper, converted over to the jumper. I got almost X times 2 amount of range. So I'm thinking, whoa, what's going on here? And this is on 2.4 gigs with the same receiver, but I got basically almost twice the range with the jumper. I'm thinking, this is pretty cool. And then I saw a video that and noticed on the jumper you can actually tune the transmitter frequency to match the receiver, because apparently I don't understand it, but there's such loose tolerances out there now that some receivers are so far off frequency that if you tune the transmitter you get more range. So I'm wondering if the tolerances were out or whatever, but it's like, this is crazy. We went to crystal controlled radio gear so you didn't have to tune anything, but now if you want optimum range you've got to tune it again. It's like we're going backwards so quickly, we'll trip over.
So is the jumper then far more capable at speaking to multiple receivers than FR Sky is of speaking to its own receiver ranges, if you will?
Yeah, using this transmitter, I can use receivers that I'd had to put on the shelf with my FreeSky gear, because FreeSky wouldn't talk to them anymore. But with the jumper, I can actually use those receivers again. And hey, that's brilliant. It means all those old receivers that only work with my old Turnigy system with the DIY module, now I can use them again with my jumper. So I don't have to go out and buy armfuls of receivers. And now also, because of the multi-protocol, I can just buy whatever receiver happens to be cheap on the day, whether it be a Spectrum receiver or a whatever receiver. I can buy that and bind up to it, and away I go. It's really quite good.
And again, it's just so I understand, it's the same modules in the back of the radio. You bind it to, well, I'm just going to come up with some names now, a high-tech receiver, and that's your model Spitfire.
I don't know that they do high-tech, actually, which is kind of
I'm just coming up with some names, a high-tech receiver.
Yeah.
And then your other model's got a Futaba receiver in it, and your third model's got an FR Sky receiver in it, but the same modules stayed in the back of the radio. And you just, when you switch your model memory to your Spitfire or whatever, it goes with it. Job done.
Yeah, exactly. So, now with the new jumper has the RF module internal, so you can still plug a Crossfire module in the back or whatever you want to go for long range stuff. And again, it'll automatically select whether it uses the external RF module or the internal board, depending on how you've set your model up. So it's ultimate flexibility.
So the people from Jumper don't want to sell receivers then?
They do make a receiver. It's a S-Bus little receiver. I think they're being very smart by focusing on one thing at a time, and they may make receivers later on. I don't know, but I mean there are so many receivers on the market anyway. And,
but they're also smart because they can bring in people with multiple radio types, can't they? And they can bring them into the fold from whichever direction they has what come. I know it's very cool.
Yeah, it's not. I'm reviewing it later this week. It's not a perfect radio though. The little sliders. I noticed this in my initial looking at the original jumper. They don't have a firm enough detent for the center position, which is a real pain in the backside if you want to use them for like flaps for crow braking and things. If you can't get that center position really quickly and easily, it really makes it difficult to use them. And also they don't have a lot of throw, so they're not very precise in terms of setting a movement, because I like to have my flaps on a slider and I like to be able to vary the flap throw over quite a range depending on conditions. But these are such a small amount of movement and no center detent that you can really feel, makes it a little bit less practical than it would otherwise be.
It's definitely on the shopping list for my eldest boy, and it might even be on the shopping list for me, one of those radios. It seems just a ticket these days. And
the other thing I don't like is it's got a color LCD. And I mean, God, what do you want a color LCD for? I like to be able to stand in the full sun and read what's going on, but with the color LCD, you got to adjust it so there's a bit of shade, because the color LCDs just don't pop like monochrome ones do. I mean, it's a great selling point. Oh, color, fantastic, 8K, HDMI, whatever. But no, it's just, I just want to be able to see numbers and graphs on a plain background, and I don't need the color. I'm a big boy, I can work in black and white, but I just want to be able to see something, which you can't do. That's what I liked about the FrSky stuff. And that's why I didn't go with the Horus as well, because you get a color display and it's just fluff over function. Monochrome does everything you want much better.
I wonder how long FrSky is for this world, unless they have a massive change. There's surely got to be the FrSky multi-protocol radio, and we will talk to our old receivers again soon, transmitter, surely.
Well, they'll be around. I mean, the products, I still like my QX7. It's a radio that works fine, but I couldn't update it. It refuses to update because it's a very early QX7S. And for some reason, using the OpenTX companion, it simply says incompatible. It won't update from that version. I've tried it, just doesn't do it. And but it still works. The radio still works. But the problem is I can't reflash my module. It's like if you get out of step, then you're way out of step. And like all the R9 stuff, if you don't have exactly the same version on the module as you have on the receiver, they won't talk to each other. And I've noticed in the feedback on that video, a lot of people have had the same problems as me. They've got a lot of R9 receivers that just don't work. It doesn't matter what you flash them to, they just don't work. They won't bind, or they'll bind one day and not bind the next day. So it's like, I think FrSky is feeling the competition. And when TBS brought out the Crossfire module, FrSky rushed out the R9 system as a competitor, but they didn't do the homework. They just got it out the door and then decided, right, it's on the market now, let's make it work, which is not the right way to do something, especially if you're a company as big as FrSky, who've got the resources and the money and the people to do it properly in the first place. You only get one chance to make a first impression, and when it comes to their 900 meg system, despite what Nicola says, I think it's crap.
Well, they had that great one in Osborne, great one. They had that big sale as well, didn't they? They coaxed loads of people into the R9 fold with very good
I only
deals.
have good things to say about it, but I never got around to using telemetry, and I haven't updated in a while. And I do keep an older firmware, non-flex one, no bullshit, no complications, just regular transmit and receive, nothing else, and it's working perfectly.
Yeah, that's as long as you can get receivers now that will work with that. And of course, they did that thing where if you want to use the new system, you've got to get a new radio. People spent money on these expensive 10XS Horus radios, and they can't use them with the new system because they're not backwards compatible. I mean, what's going on? I mean, you have to. In fact, who was it? There's a guy. Is it Pavel or someone has a YouTube channel, and he was bitching that he bought this radio and now has to buy a new one if he wants to use the new gear. It's like, no, the one thing you must preserve is backwards compatibility. Otherwise, you alienate your customers and they get paid off having to buy new stuff every couple of years just to keep going. And I think that's what FrSky is doing. They're working on the whole smartphone industry, where you've got to have a new smartphone every year or two. and that's how you keep the cash flowing. Well, I've decided we'll apply that model to the RC market. So everyone has to buy new gear every couple of years, or they can't buy compatible receivers because now we're not making those anymore.
I am sticking to my first production run Taranis X9D, non-plus, only with whole gimbals. That's it. It is perfect.
Yeah, same with mine. I love my Taranis. I love the QX7S. It's just that it's if you want to move on, there's some roadblocks in the way there. What are you using in your current plane for radio link, Nicola?
On the Crosswind Mini?
The one you've been flying recently?
Yeah, the Dragon Link.
I think that says it all.
No, it's because I recently got it and I really wanted to try it out. And I really wanted to test it, and I also put it in the XUAV clouds because of the telemetry option. Because you can then cable or Bluetooth link it to the computer and actually not have an additional radio, an additional frequency to worry about. But that's why I used to fly that with the R9 and was absolutely perfectly happy about it. I just thought I'd give the Dragon Link a try because I had it. And I knew of the functionality, and that seemed appealing.
The Bluetooth
that's why, that's why I installed it.
Yeah, it always seems very short distance, a Bluetooth link. Don't walk to. It seems like
it didn't work either way. It didn't work. So I got it working over the cable, and supposedly I should be getting the Wi-Fi upgrade boards to make that Wi-Fi, and it works more reliably, apparently. Haven't gotten them yet.
I've not ever been overly impressed with that Bluetooth link. It hasn't worked particularly well. It works, but you've got it's like you've got to be stood next to the laptop. I don't quite know how they did that. But have you managed any impressive distances yet?
Well, with the Dragon Link, range testing will be rather limited now because of the video feed, because I'm using 5.8. But I think I did mention that I did go out 32 kilometers recently. Line of sight, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, with your amazing eyesight, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I would expect at least double that. Should you have to go BV loss?
No. That was video range. The Dragon Link was running on something like up to a point 100 milliwatts, and then I switched it up to 300 just for the sake of it. But it was all right. The video was the one that gave up around the 32nd kilometer, but I'm happy to report that the math on video transmission power increases does work. Because based on my results with the 1.2 watts AKK X2 Ultimate, based on my results with that one, I estimated that at 2 watts I'd get to around 30 kilometers before I get sort of the same type or level of signal degradation, and that flight pretty much confirmed that.
Wavy Davy having no problem finding his 20-year-old JR3810. I have one of those as well.
Actually, I was going to put a long wire receiver in one of my models and see what range I get out of it these days compared to the old 2.4, because I don't see many people using long wire for long range FPV. I expect I'd probably get about 2.5, 3K, but I may be surprised.
Yeah, well, yeah, you could have put up some impressive antennas for 35 megs. It's not too bad, is it? What was it over there that you had? What frequency were you on? 27, 72?
27, 29, 35, 36, 40, and 72.
So you had many channels available then.
Oh yes, and with some of the radio gear I built, used them all at once. Terribly noisy.
Yeah, that's right. Pick a harmonic, any harmonic.
Yeah, I'm just scared. I'm scared senseless by this 5G radiation that's going to kill us all. Have you read about that on the YouTubes? About 5G's going to roast you in your bed. It's terrible, isn't it?
Yes, there's been rather a lot of that, hasn't there? And there's been more stuff from ICAO about how ADS-B isn't really the solution, and more stuff about how we need a better low-level solutions for the dronosphere. And it has a feeling, it does have another feeling of generated panic again, or not so much panic. In fact, yes, better than that, because there's not panic on it. There's concern, and we're going to do something about it, and we're experts and knowledgeable people, and we're going to make it all work. But in a driven way, it feels like there's an agenda. Yet again, a new agenda. Feels like we're leaving the age of the scare tactic and moving into the age of sort of wise talking heads.
It's going to be interesting with this new conspicuity or ID system that they're proposing for drones on 2.4 gigs using Wi-Fi. What's going to happen when you are flying your racing mini quad at very high speed with this onboard beacon, this onboard thing, and it is broadcasting on 2.4 gigs right beside your sensitive 2.4 gig receiver, and there's no way to synchronize them so that you can be sure that the data packets don't overlap. I want to see what happens when this happens. It could be really exciting.
Well, yeah, it's all interesting. It's interesting that the controversies continued and people are still blaming DJI, and I don't actually blame DJI for being one of the first people to come out with a system that they can demonstrate. Everyone else is going to have to. This is a thing that's coming. Whether we like it or not, this is a thing that's coming one way or another.
I've got a much simpler system that I'm going to be trialing on the weekend, which is basically, it's a small cylinder that you attach to your drone. And inside that, there are hundreds of little pieces of paper with your registration number on it. And it just drops them every now and then. So you just catch one of those bits of paper and you that's that guy. Yeah, so, I mean, low-tech solutions to high-tech problems work on anything.
But surely, as folks used to have a red flag in front of the car, surely it'd be easier. You could reduce the paper wastage there by simply employing one racing pigeon that flew in formation with you, and then on request of a policeman, perhaps a special whistle or call would gather that pigeon into wherever that officer of the law was, and be able to hand over the bit of paper. Something like that.
I think we're overthinking this a little bit.
You reckon?
But it's nice to know that as we go into the third decade of the 21st century, we're finally getting around to making ADS-B mandatory on manned aircraft and controlled airspace around the world.
So I'll rant on. Yeah, we're finally making a 20-year-old standard, 30-year-old standard come to life with its 30-year-old GPSs that are connected to it because they're the approved ones.
But did you see that now they're very concerned that 5G is going to affect GPS service around the world. So we're going to be stuffed everywhere we go.
I didn't see that.
They're worried that between the 1 and 2 gigahertz part of the 5G spectrum is going to be causing GPS units not to work. So if you want to do BV loss with 5G, well, you can forget about having GPS.
Did you see the circular spoofing of GPS that's out and about there now? They reckon it's the Chinese. They can draw circles on you. That's very clever spoofing, and shock horror. It may be that GPS is not as reliable as people believe it or perceive it to be. Funny old thing.
Oh, well, we've always got GLONASS to fall back on, or Galileo.
That would be my choice every single time.
Yeah.
Did you read the register?
Get a few more birds up. Yep. And as long as the Italian centre doesn't go down, they'll be fine.
Yeah, it's absolutely all the way. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's eggs in baskets, isn't it? And I think the reality of this is, though, your dear old cruise missile from back in the day actually used cameras for lots of its navigation and looked at maps and looked at the ground and adjusted its course as it went. And I can see us sort of coming back full circle to that sort of thing, to camera-based navigation, as we have done with the Skydio, and DJI gear has that as well. But I think that'll become a lot more, and GPS reliance will fall away, I think, a little bit in the next
That's
few
interesting,
years.
isn't it? Because like we've just had the release of the new Threadripper parts by AMD, and they are incredibly powerful pieces of silicon. And we're talking, I think, was it Russia or China have got AI drones now, and they don't want people are saying we don't want those armed because they can shoot people without, prior authorization and all the dangers and so forth. I'm wondering where we're headed with all this. We're going to have autonomous drones working with AI and doing the thing all on their own. And so who becomes responsible then when those things stray into an airport or something like that? I mean, it's we're on the threshold of a new generation of technology. AI is just taking over everything. Even Google's using AI. Who'd have thought? I'm really worrying about when we're using AI, who actually becomes the responsible party when AI goes askew.
Absolutely. Well, and from an aviation point of view, it's probably going to be the person that launches it every time, isn't it? I should imagine, even if he is just some lowly worker.
Yeah, but look at the Skydio, isn't it? Haven't they got a thing where it's supposed to dock and land and then go out and do regular flights? No one's launching the damn thing. It's fully autonomous right from the get-go. Is it the guy that puts it in the little box, or is it the guy that actually ships it to you, or who does it?
The guy that put it in the box. I reckon it will go down to.
So if he leaves the company, and the other guy, the new guy, just keeps an eye on things, and something goes wrong, then who's responsible?
Yeah. No. There's no end of ethical issues kicking up with all of this, all around all of it, and we are busy making rules that we don't need. I see. Did you see that Amazon's been testing? Did you see their test rig in the UK?
What, holding it from a crane or something?
Yeah.
But tethered drones are still subject to regulation. It's not like you get out of jail free card.
Yes.
I saw, was it Foxtech announced they've got a 3.5 kilowatt tethered drone or something. I saw they sent me an email the other day. So it's kind of interesting. A tethered drone sucking 3.5 kilowatts of power. It's obviously got a big generator on the ground, and I guess you'd use it for fixed position radio stuff or surveillance or something. I don't know, but obviously just keep filling the generator with petrol and fly forever.
I think there's Ellis there, the French company, doing quite a bit of work with their tethered drones now in security situations, and I think they are becoming quite a successful little segment of our world, really. And yeah, that makes sense. I've got a press release when we finish this about another system that's sold in the US. I can't remember how many it was, gone to the military.
And here we go. Cast your mind back. It's time for a look back at the webcast. Whatever happened to those kites generating power by pulling cables in and out of a big drum that we had on the program?
We did have them on, didn't we? I forgot that. They keep popping up, don't they? We keep hearing about them again, and then they go away again. And we spoke about last month. I put in the head of the that RC car that 16-year-old moved all those drugs with. We're surely going to have some regulations around rovers now as well. Surely this is the beginning of. That's why I put this in. So in the future, I'll remember that this is probably when the rot starts for that.
Well, it's like we're going to be forbidden to do anything unless we have permission to do it. So the default is you can't do anything, and you need permission to do whatever it is. I mean, like, really, we just give up and stay in bed all day when that happens.
Well, you might not be allowed to do that. You
don't get permission to stay in bed.
I can instantly see that would be something that wouldn't be allowed. But no, I think rovers are going to come under a little bit of scrutiny now, because it is a very obvious way of moving heavier loads, far heavier loads. I was trying to look at the tires of the photos, and I can't quite read whatever's. I can't find a photo that's clear enough for me to read exactly what RC car that was. But I'm sure it's a very popular model, easy to find. If you knew, I don't know what I'm looking at, so I'm sure someone that knows.
I think the next big thing, I mean, if I wanted to make a lot of money right now and I didn't care about the law, I would be making autonomous water drones, craft that sat just below the waterline, just on the waterline with solar panels, GPS guided, and I'd be putting all my cocaine in there, and then it would automatically go all the way from Bolivia or wherever up to the Miami coast. And are they doing that automatic with
narco subs? Yeah, narco subs. It's already happening. It's a big deal, and they just abandon them on the beach. So am I going to be muscling in on your market or something? I better not do that. Well, you might be able to make a better one than I can. No, it's already a thing. Narco subs is already a thing. I don't know quite how intelligent the things are, but they won't need to be all that intelligent. In fact, you probably, I guess, not being a nautical person, but I guess if you can motor it into a given area or distance from a beach, the tide will take the thing in the last bit of the journey. So you've only got to get it into a bit of tide, I guess, and then you're on the side and you wait. But yeah, apparently there's lots of them just lying on the shorelines in certain parts of America.
Because Ron's building a autonomous craft because he does a bit of fishing. So he's making a torpedo that will go out, I don't know, past the breakers and then drop a hook and then do a return to home, come back on the beach. He's been working on that for a few weeks. He'll be testing it out at some stage. But yeah, the whole drone thing, we tend to think about drones flying, but there are so many other avenues that drone technology can be applied to. And I remember, must have been at least 10 years ago, DARPA did that autonomous vehicle test in the Baja Desert or something, where there was a prize up for winning. If you could get a autonomous land vehicle to follow a course and get to the end. I don't think anyone actually won it, but it's probably that's when people first realized, I think, that land vehicles were going to be a thing. And now we're going to have these self-driving taxis, and Amazon will be delivering by drone, but it'll be a vehicle-based drone on the road, I guarantee you.
Well, I see in Milton Keynes, they already have those little 6-wheeled rolling robot things delivering stuff, and you can use the app as well as in America. And I was watching some video of that, and it was amazing how poor the movement on it was. When it stopped, it stopped and came up on its rear wheels and accelerated. When it accelerated, it came up off its front wheels. It just didn't look very satisfactory.
So just like a Tesla Model 3 on the summon mode.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
It's funny. Go search in YouTube videos for Tesla on summon mode, and there's quite a few laughs to be had looking at that. But
it stopped when cars were coming on the road. That impressed me, and things like that. And I saw one video which was it was a family. Well, they won't be anymore with their copper videos, but doing their vlogs or whatever, and the little boy wanted to order something so the robot would arrive, and it was excitement and all that about it. I thought we made it very genuine, the sort of storyline of the thing arriving. And of course, it didn't carry much, but it carried far more than anything Amazon's going to be flying into your yard, because if it matches that, is going to be a huge thing that's going to have to fly in your front lawn. And I see, again, I was reading today some lawyers saying, well, actually, if you're going to accept these deliveries via drone, is your yard safe and secure enough? Because of course there's implications of your next door neighbor's child running in to see your delivery and getting clopped by whatever's there. So the actual areas are going to have a degree of safety to them, which I must admit I hadn't thought about before. And how will they secure?
If you look at manned aviation, there's so much to do with safety. I don't see how you can get away with what they're planning to do with drone deliveries in suburban areas and things. I mean, you'd never be able to start a service that used a helicopter to drop stuff in people's backyards. And some of these larger drones, especially if you're going to be carrying heavier stuff, they're lethal. If they fell on someone, they'd slice them up, and you'd get extra bacon with your order. It's just no.
Yeah, I think a few reality chickens are coming, or reality pigeons. Those are the ones that weren't trained to send messages or have your registration ID and fly next to you. Reality pigeons are the ones trained to bring some reality home to some of these Silicon Valley companies. But the main thing is to be a pigeon trainer. Of multiple different sorts of pigeons.
And now we're getting towards the end of the year. We need to start making some predictions for the coming year. How many large drone companies will go broke because they've run out of venture capital and haven't made a penny?
I think at least 3 of the very major, or people that, well, that's the thing, isn't it? They can make a lot of noise in the media, can make a big splash all over the press with this, that, and the other, but have they ever really made any money? So are they really a big company, or are they just pretending to be? I think 3 or 4 of them are going to go bust. And I think 2 or 3 of the little players are well, Amazon's a fantastic example, and I've forgotten the name. Is it Swift Aero? Those Australian chaps have been their delivery platform has been expanding gently here, there, and everywhere, and they're actually doing it. That's the difference. They are actually day-to-day flying and getting the job done. They're in Malawi. I think it's curse me if I'm wrong, but they opened in Malawi this week as well, and they're going to break through and pass the Amazons of the world, I think, and the Ubers. I think Uber is, I don't think they'll ever enter the market.
No, I think it's a lot of these companies. I think they must spend at least half of the money they raise on press releases, and the rest of it gets spent on water features in the foyer. But not much comes out of it in terms of actual product that people can buy, even if they wanted to buy. There's a lot of lily drones out there that have yet to be discovered. The thinness, the emptiness of the actual product or the company, it's all smoke and mirrors, and we're gonna have the drone bust coming up very soon, I think.
Yeah, well, I think there we are. You can have we'll let you have that headline. I reckon it's next year though. I'll pin the tail on the donkey next year. Where do you reckon? Are we still ever growing, Nicola?
Wake up, Nicola.
No, I'm awake. What was the question?
Well, is next year a big drone boom year, or is it on its way out now? Is it the drone bust year?
Well, you mean with regulations coming, a big drone year? Seriously?
Well, no, I mean,
yeah. Is it like has the market sort of started drying up, and are these companies going to be called to account? The people that have been putting millions of dollars into these companies going to want some money back, and some of these companies just aren't delivering anything back except fancy press releases and 3D renderings. So is the going to hit the fan, and suddenly people are hauled into account, like happened at the turn of the century with the .com? Everyone was throwing money at Yahoo and everything, and then they said, well, okay, now time for profits, and the company said, oh no, we don't do profits.
Well, as long as there are stupid people in the world, there will be people getting, scamming them. And there will always be people that would believe anything they see online. So, I don't know. I wouldn't mind some accountability for those that, scam like on purpose, because some of these videos really look unbelievable. And they never do deliver, and they just keep asking for money, and some people do give them that for some weird reason. So, I don't know how much of that is the user fault and how much of it is the platform fault and how much is, well, obviously the scammer is at fault. But, it's very difficult to say if the platform they're running the scam on, just how much should they be held accountable for, and how much should the the gullible end user be held accountable for, for the nth time paying for something that is apparently not real.
I don't know if there's actually scams. I think a lot of these companies and these people actually believe that what they're doing will happen. They just don't have don't have the right people there. They've got a lot of sycophants saying, "Oh, yes, that's a good idea." No one's saying, "Hey, no, that's stupid. Stop it." I think that's.
I don't know. I think it might turn out that it is possible that there may be something like those guys with the that generate water from air. Yeah. So that those people are running scams, and they know it.
But they're just incredibly stupid.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, yeah. Well, if they can sell you a $200 Walmart dehumidifier for $2,000, I don't know who's the stupid one.
You got to stop watching Thunderfoot.
Well, if we want to save the world, then the bottom line is education. And
he's got a point, though. He does have a point.
But education would solve all of this across multiple
There's so much ignorance out there. They should teach science in schools, because then people would be armed against this kind of rubbish.
I thought they were doing that.
No, they're teaching cultural sensitivity and the laws of physics only apply as long as you don't feel upset about it.
Right.
It's not that bad.
Okay.
It's not that bad. It's not.
Yeah,
that
maybe
bad.
somebody should let the universe know that, because apparently it doesn't have a clue.
There's children are so busy these days. There's so much competition for their attention, be it music, sport, or whatever, and parents want them to do everything. I'm afraid the sciences are not that sexy a subject for them anymore, and they can't. I was doing some things today. Do you know that James May thing where he flies a glider across the channel, or it ends up being to Lundy off North Devon? But I had that playing since last week, this week. So I had that playing video day, and just see how many would be interested in what questions would come out of it. It was very few. I was quite disappointed. I wanted them all to want to go out and have a model glider for Christmas, but sadly it was only a handful. And
but I think this is part of the problem, because now we have cocooned up all this sort of stuff. Oh, it's too dangerous. You can't play with mercury. You can't play with acid. You can't fly a drone because it's all too dangerous. So kids going, well, science, it's not accessible to us anymore. The things that we might have done when you and I were kids to demonstrate science and to engage science, it's far too dangerous now. We can't expose children to harsh language or even, a chill wind. We must cocoon them up in cotton wool, and that no wonder they spend their time playing video games and wondering when Nicola's going to find his airplane. It's like we've cut them off from reality. So I think we need to take a big step back.
Gary? You're cooped up inside playing video games, and that's why you're constantly asking me, have I found the plane?
Yeah, I heard that. I did hear that. I did hear that.
Yeah. But that's the new game. Where in the world is Nicola's playing? It's like I'm going to fly all the way to your place with my long-range FPV. People can sort of, like those things you used to get in the paper where you had to put a little X where the ball was. Yeah. And we'll do that. Google Earth of Nicola's Hill, and we'll get people to put little crosses on, and the winner gets nothing at all.
You had some very old bits of foam that have been weathered, 8-month weathered foam, especially etched organic foam.
It wasn't made of that biodegradable foam, was it, Nicola? It didn't just biodegrade into nothing. No.
Yeah, no. The My Flight Dream planes are not biodegradable.
And drone 3 droid. I don't know how to say that. Drone 3 droid. You're absolutely right. They do dream of being YouTube stars, and of course that sort of window's gone now, isn't it? That's a career opportunity gone out the window with all the various copper things and other stuff coming up. I wonder quite how. There's a lot of panic. I wonder quite, we said it last week, I think, as well, but quite what YouTube's going to look like in 18 months' time.
Well, it's going to be very interesting, and I've heard a lot of legal opinions. And the FTC changed their laws a while back because after they did the Google thing, they realized that YouTube and Google did a deal with the FTC, and they changed the law so that then the content creator became liable, because even though the content creator isn't tracking the children, the Google and YouTube are acting on behalf of the content creator. Therefore, the content creator is deriving benefit from what Google and YouTube do. Therefore, the content creator is liable. It's like, yes, that $170 million was very well spent by YouTube because they bought a law that indemnifies them against the whole thing. And the thing shouldn't worry me because I live outside of US jurisdiction. But you know that when the FTC cannot levy a fine, YouTube's just going to say, we have a new type of community strike now. It's called a copper strike. And if you violate copper, we'll strike your channel. If you get 3 strikes, you're out. It's like, oh no. So as I think I said in the video, I'm going to be starting self-hosting after Christmas. And I'll still be putting videos up on YouTube, but everything I put on YouTube, I'll also be self-hosting. So if YouTube decides to get stupid, I've still got all my stuff online. People can still get at it. And I'm going to publish all the specs of the hardware and the software I use, so everyone can self-host if they want to. All you need is a broadband connection. And I think that's the only way we're going to beat YouTube at its own game, is to just basically take back the ball and do it that way.
But you've got a super fast internet connection there, haven't you?
Gigabit, a gigabit connection. It's so fast. It's so fast that I was actually doing this yesterday, and we're actually, we're in the future now. But actually it's not that fast. It's crap, because I thought I'll get this gigabit connection. And my 2 gigabyte files will just flash up to YouTube in a couple of seconds, and I'll be able to get on with my day. Nah, YouTube only accepts them at 5 or 50 megabits a second. So
okay,
it's crap.
That's interesting. I wonder whether that British New Age restricted YouTube channel, yes, or others. Surely it's an opening for other entities to pop up now. Maybe we'll see a resurgence in Vimeo if anyone ever uses it.
None of those things are going to work, because you can't build a YouTube overnight, and the amount of resource in terms of servers and bandwidth is just completely impossible for anyone to compete. And people have said to me, why don't you go to Vimeo? But Vimeo only lets you have, I think, 200 or 500 megabytes a week of upload or something. So unless you want to pay them money. So I have to pay them money to host my stuff. And you can't monetize through Vimeo, so I wouldn't get any ad revenue. So it'd be completely economically not viable. But the thing is, YouTube's digging themselves a hole, because as they keep whittling back on the ability for content creators to earn money through ad revenue, they're making content creators less dependent on them. Now, people have got Patreon, they've got swag, they've got affiliate links. So when it gets to a certain point, people will say, oh, don't need YouTube anymore, because the ad revenue is just a tiny fraction of my income, and if I lose that, I don't care. And they will be more inclined to deplatform onto some other source. So they've really got to watch that. They are digging their own grave.
No, I agree. Now look, we're coming up on. We've been over an hour talking, because we started very early, and we're coming up to the end of the official hour. So I'm going to ask: was there any other exciting stories that caught your eye this week, or dull stories, or?
The other thing is, a lot of people have said to me, YouTube's actually going to change. It's going to be a lot of adult content now. Instead of being family friendly, we're going to move more towards the edgy adult content, because the people don't want to be caught out by having a video that might appeal to children. So they'll start off with profanity and they'll make it all edgy and stuff. So we're going to end up with YouTube becoming more like Pornhub than it was before, because it's the only way to protect yourself, I mean, if you've got nerdy ladies dancing around the front of your thing and you're swearing at people, there's no way anyone can claim this is targeting children. Maybe targeting the creation of children, but not children themselves.
But that PewDiePie guy, I don't know if you, and he's a huge YouTuber, isn't he? And he just swears. All he does is swear at games, and children watch that endlessly. So
yeah, they do.
Where's he gonna sit in all this? I guess he's over his old hat. There must be someone modern and young and crazy and new that does just the same.
You've got to realize that YouTube has several tiers of content creators. If you get to the PewDiePie level, you can do no wrong. You can use racial slurs and ethnic slurs and all sorts of things, and you get away. You just walk away, get a jail-free card. They don't care, because you're making them so much money that you have full power. If you're a little creator and you make the slightest slip, you're out, because you're not worth anything to them. Because, as they said, they have the right to withdraw service if it's not economically viable. So they're only going to look after the people that make them money.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
So
Nicola's all right. He's making a fortune out of his YouTube channel. I've watched one of his videos.
Yeah. I did as well this week. Yeah. We've aiding his empire, aiding his fortune there. But yeah, I mean, if anyone else has anything else, otherwise I'll put the hammer down on yet another. Oh, it's Thanksgiving coming up, isn't it? That's why it's slowed down.
Black Friday sales. Yes, get out there, spend all your money.
Oh yeah, it's not. There's only a thing that's arrived here in the last couple of years, and we still don't quite understand it down here. I don't know. It's been in New Zealand for a while.
It's like Halloween. The American culture through social media and television is just spread around the world. We didn't know what Halloween was until a few years ago, and now we've got Halloween, and then there's these Cyber Mondays and Black Friday sales, and I'm pretty sure next year we'll have Thanksgiving in New Zealand just because it's American.
yes, international uniform calendar. So it all fits in nicely. You're right.
I hear we're all going back to imperial units for measurement too.
Oh really? Where'd you hear that?
Oh, the world is going back to imperial because America says so. Trump says everyone has to measure in inches now.
He did.
I actually can't.
Did he?
I can't like centimeters because my wife said that although size doesn't matter,
Yes.
bigger's better.
Yeah, that's right. And a bigger number's got to be bigger, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
At least we can all agree that -40 is -40. Doesn't matter whether you use Celsius or Fahrenheit.
Oh, yeah. God, isn't that confusing? You've got to admit there's some things about the metric system that make sense. They do make sense. But there we go. And on that
there's, what is it? There's 16 ounces in a pound and there's 20 shillings in a pound. How does that work?
Yeah, I don't know. 4'3", as you go often use. Did he really say going back the world should use inches?
No, I made that up.
Oh, you made that up. Oh,
Fake news. Fake news.
Well, I wouldn't put it past it. I wouldn't put it past him. No, he's an idiot.
Well, yeah. Well, yes. Well,
he should get in the drone business. Oh, he is in the drone business.
Yeah. He's got a sort of. All right, look, before we offend too many more people, no need to worry about demonetizing now because there's no money at all on YouTube. Guys, thank you very much. Dear viewer, wherever you might be in the world, have a safe rest of the week. Flying on the weekend, be careful, don't crash too much. We'll see you again at 2100 GMT next week when we'll try and see if there's any stories. I've got a couple of guests on the bubble that will be quite interesting. So maybe
you got a drone coming? Are they coming?
No, we've got an Australian lawyer to talk about all the stuff that's happening in Australia. That'll be good, and maybe even someone that as a rover. So we'll
get Oz by drone on as well. Get Oz by drone on.
Yeah, well, actually, yes, he should be on that same one. Yes, he should actually be on that same one. Yes, I will try and do that very thing, next Tuesday. All right, guys, thanks very much. We'll see you next week. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a good Thanksgiving, whenever that is, or Black Friday or whatever. Bye.